What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be talking about pricing, the mindset shifts around pricing. And this is a snippet from one of our coaching calls with our clients where I break down pricing, limiting beliefs, and some other things that you're not going to want to miss. So let's dive in. Yeah, raise those prices. I would double them, to be honest with you. I think that you're just too low.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
We're
Okay,
just
cool.
gonna keep cranking up the actual budgets and the price points until you get to a point where like no one's saying yes. But I promise you, there's gonna be people who say yes. So it's like when I first met you, you're like, should I charge 10K for this thing? It's like,
Yeah.
yes. And you're like, hey, you paid. I'm like, yeah,
Dude,
I know.
well, the thing is, like this year, like I'm at like Q1, I think I'm at like almost 100K, which is
Nice.
I was not never I didn't know when that was gonna happen.
What
So,
was the big shift for you? Like what was
dude,
the
probably our first call, just talking about like the price raise and like just
yeah.
being okay with working with those kinds of clients,
Mm-hmm.
and then realizing it's normal.
Yeah, just being okay with like turning people away.
Well, yeah, and I haven't even, that's the thing, I haven't turned many people away. It's just really saying, no, this is what I charge, and not like justifying it, not whatever, just this is what I
Mhm.
charge. End of story.
Yeah. It's interesting, dude, because like a lot of the pricing stuff is a mindset thing for a lot of people.
Super.
Like there's a reason, I always say this, like there's a reason why when people interview other people for jobs, they ask you how much you would charge for this because they're betting on you not charging your worth, which is hilarious. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And
So it's
people
like
fall for
we
it.
mentally undercharge. It's like if you can just get to a place where you push yourself to charge a little bit more or charge a little bit more to where you're uncomfortable, it's surprising because a lot of people will say yes if you're doing a good job. And then you reach a certain point where if you charge high enough, you start to become premium pricing where they think you're better simply because you charge more. It's so
Weird.
interesting. It's like,
Super.
would you buy a Rolex for $100? No.
No.
Why? Because you think it's fake, right? Exactly. So if I'm going to pay for a piece of content and you're only charging me like 2 grand or 3 grand, what am I going to think about that piece of content?
Right.
It's probably not that good,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It's super weird. And so, yeah, you're right that it just is going up, and the value, like this coach guy, they're talking about doing a high ticket offer for 5K, and it's like, okay, two of those wins. Like,
That's also why you go after people who charge a lot of money because it's
right.
easier to charge higher prices when the client you're charging higher prices to also charges higher prices because it only takes them like a few handful of people to actually make back their investment, right? Which is huge.
And they already know it's it's like a risk in a sense, which
Yeah. It's also easier to work with people who have more money because if you think about it, like 20K to someone who has $10 million is nothing. But 20K to someone who makes 20K a year is everything. So like there's a reason why low ticket clients are like, hold me, like this is exactly what I need. Like my family's life is in your hands. It's like, I don't want that pressure, dude. Like I'm just not gonna, I just don't think it's a good fit. Whereas when you have people who are doing, 10, $20 million, 50K, 100K for a video is nothing. So it's just easier to work with those people.
it's pretty mind-boggling. And my family is like, what the freak are you doing? I'm like, I don't know.
I'm charging what I'm worth, man. Hello.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's Eric told me to, and it works.
Eric
So
told me to. They paid. I don't know what happened after that. It's like, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like you can do a better job for them just because you're charging more. Like it,
Totally.
like how good of a job can you really do when you're charging 2, 3K?
You can't. Yeah, you almost build resentment too.
Right. So it's like you are not serving the client at the end of the day if you're not charging them as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And I know for some people like, oh, I don't want to charge. It's like, dude, how are you going to pay for your team? How are you going to pay for all these things? How are you going to give the client a good experience if you're not charging them any money? Right. So it's like ultimately it doesn't serve them at the end of the day if you're not charging them as much as you can.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, and that's the same thing with that pharmacy client too, like the B-roll
yep.
library. I'm doing like 2 testimonials, and like a 60-second who we are, what we do video,
Yep.
talking head, and then B-roll.
You do
And
less work, you get paid more. They're more grateful. They're happier. It's like there's literally no downside to charging more and going after higher end clients.
yeah,
There
and
isn't.
I think the weird part is the people don't believe it.
Right. Yeah.
That's, unless you do it once, you
Yep.
don't believe it. You're like, this guy is a freaking scammer, dude.
Yep. Yep. Well, dude, and that's the thing is like you don't like you don't believe you can do 100K in Q1 until you do 100K in Q1. right?
Yeah. I'm
So
like,
it's
oh,
like,
that's easy.
yeah, and that's how I was too. It's like I don't think I can do 100K in a month, and then you do 100K in a month, and you're like, oh, I just did more of the thing that I was already doing, but I compressed it into a 30-day timeline instead of doing that in an entire year, right? So oftentimes you just need to get a bigger goal and you need to get around people who are doing bigger numbers because it's really just like a mindset shift when you hear someone, oh yeah, 100K a month, like, and they say it in like a nonchalant way. You're like, oh, that can be possible. And for a lot of people, it's just a mindset thing. They just don't understand, like, hey, I can get to that amount. I just need to, it's usually just more volume. So it's more leads, more sales calls, more clients. And then you're compressing that into a 30-day timeline instead of doing 30 days worth of work in a year's worth of time, right?
Yeah.
That's all it
Yeah.
is.
That's it.
Hope you enjoyed the coaching call. Hope you got some value from that. If you have any questions or want to learn a little bit more about how we help video business owners scale and make more money in their businesses, there's a link down below to schedule a demo with our team where we'll walk you through what this might look like for your business and how we might be able to help.